Greetings and salutations, race fans and others, and welcome back to Dakar 2021, the Southern African Influence. Another little insert. It's bivouac day today. It's rest day. It's day of catching up and sorting out our minds and learning new things and talking to people. I'm joined by Steffi Vetter, she of the Southern African Dakar group, from somewhere close to the sea, and somewhere with lots and lots of interesting people. Steffi, thank you very much for joining us. You're having a restful day today?
Colin, I don't know why they call it a rest day. Hello, everybody, and hello to the team. I think we've worked harder today than we do every day on the Dakar.
Yeah, but at least you got to have your first cup of coffee after very, very early o'clock.
It wasn't so early o'clock, you're right.
Good stuff. Right. We've... part of this is we're catching up with people who have, from Southern Africa, who've had an influence in the Dakar over the years. And Steffi, I'm going to hand over to you because you know the lady we're going to talk to now a whole lot better than I do. So without further ado, Steffi, take it away.
Colin, it's my great pleasure to introduce the cross-country FIM commission member, internationally renowned, the real Dakar mom in Africa. In fact, she's the realizer of most Southern Africans' Dakar dreams. She's a navigator, she's an official, and more importantly, she's my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gillian Dykes. Welcome, Gilly. It's such an honor to have you with us.
It's an absolute pleasure, and considering we've never met face to face, I mean, I think I know you better than I would a sister if I had one. But thank you very much, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you guys.
Thanks, Gilly. We're going to be chatting about all sorts of things, but I want to, for the people that don't know you out there, I want to touch on your motorsport experiences, and more particularly the licenses that you hold and what they actually mean.
My motorsport history comes from East Africa, in particular the Safari Rally. Probably next to the Dakar from a rallying perspective, as in car rallies, a 4,000, or it was in the old days, 5,000 kilometer race through Uganda, Tanzania and Kenya. And everybody and anybody on Easter weekend was dragged in to help. I was the gopher in those days. Go for this, go for that. And then I became a marshal in 1985 and handled Parc Ferme with the likes of Marco Alain, Ari Vatanen, Joa Kanken, and those sort of guys. And I mean, I was only a baby as such. Then I moved down to South Africa, and Beulah from Motorsport South Africa. I was busy babying a few riders at a race in Zambia. Oh, sorry, it was Zimbabwe. And poking my nose in, and she said to me, why don't you actually take over and start running with the riders? And so I did my MSA CFC licenses in motocross, enduro, off-road cars and bikes and quads, and karting, and weirdly snowmobiling. And then David Reeve in 2007 discussed Dakar with me. So I said, if we're going to do it, we do it properly. And so then I went and got my FIM Africa licenses. And because at that time MSA didn't have and don't really have a Dakar style event, I went to Qatar at my own expense to get an FIM officials license. And it's just grown from there. Every 3 years I redo my license in Morocco or somewhere. And luckily last year I was put forward by MSA to be on the cross-country commission at the FIM, and I'm also a director of FIM Africa, so I'm kept very busy in my spare time.
And Gilly, for those who don't know, FIM?
International Federation of Motorcycling, the equivalent of FIFA in the football world, or FIA, Federation of Automobiles for the car guys. And cross-country is the only event whereby the cars and the bikes run together. And so it would be really nice to have a foot in both camps from a bike perspective and a car perspective. So I'm sort of slowly looking at moving over to, but not giving up on the bikes, but moving into the car scenario as well, because I used to navigate in Kenya, and so still, I would say I'm a frustrated ex-competitor as well by heart.
We're going to come back to your navigation a bit later, Gilly, but I wanted to ask you, when people talk about the Dakar and the glamour of the Dakar, and they want to go to the Dakar, 1.2 million viewers, from an official's point of view, what is a day in the life of an official in the bivvy at Dakar?
I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning because usually the bikes leave the bivouac at 4 o'clock, and there always has to be a jury member present in case of issues with medical or a problem with the technical guys, saying that there's an issue with the bike or whatever reason. Then once the bike's all gone, it's breakfast, get onto a bus or an aeroplane to the next bivouac, sit around in the boiling heat or the freezing cold and the dust. I think you've seen photos of what I look like by lunchtime. And then in the afternoons, the bikers start coming in, you're dealing with protests, you're trying to get the results out. Everybody wants a bit of you, whether or not it's to get a message to their wife or whatever else. And if we're lucky, we manage to get something to eat in the evening, and we're on duty till 11 at night. And then it's usually, in South America, it was 30 minutes drive back to the hotel, check-in, which always takes ages. So 2.5 hours sleep for 14 days. Yeah, it's a bit stressful, as much for us as it is for the riders and their managers. We operate on the same amount of minimum sleep and dirt and dodgy bathrooms. I'm sure all the competitors that are going to talk to you will describe the toilets, which require Wellington boots and a snorkel to get into. And the men know not to go into the ladies' loo, but they always do because it's clean. And so you go in there and kick out something in a pair of boots that's now peed all over the seat with a very gritted sense of humor.
And Julie, tell me, when you were in South America, just remind us how many Dakars you've actually attended. What was the worst bivvy you've ever been in? Can you let us into a bit of that insight? I have an idea it was where it was, but let's hear it from you.
I've done 7 Dakars now, 4 as an official, as jury member for FIM and for the ASO, and I did 3 as the sort of team manager. I think the guys behind my back call me a pit bitch, but yeah, pit bitch, team manager, whichever one you want. And the worst bivouac, and I know you know this because there's photos of it all over, was a place called Calamar or Calama, known as a bivouac from hell. I used to cry when I knew we were going there. It's like the world's biggest kitty litter. It's freezing cold. The wind blows. You live in goggles and a buff and try and eat your food in between sort of mouthfuls of sand. And the water's always cold in the shower. I had one of my biggest temper tantrums there. I don't often have temper tantrums, but I was so tired and so cold, and the boys were crossing the Andes the next morning. And I finally got to shower at about 11, 12 o'clock at night, and it was cold. And my clothes had got kicked onto the floor, so they were damp and wet. And I'd put some lotion on, and I stormed back to the pit at midnight, and I fell into a pile of fesh. And I was absolutely covered from head to toe. I was livid. So I climbed into the car, I didn't even put my tent up, burst into tears very quietly so the riders couldn't hear me, and then put on my big girl pants the next day and kicked them off over the Andes with a smile and a cup of coffee.
I can't imagine you actually having a temper tantrum and then bursting into tears, because I think that many a rider have been on the receiving end of a Gilly tongue lashing.
I am quite strict with them. Joey was the one who gave me one of the biggest frights. He was absolutely shattered when he came into San Juan. I think it was in 2017. And I was there on the start line in the morning. And part of the job is for us to check that the riders have no cell phones, no GPS watches, make sure they've got their knee braces on. They sort of, much against their will, get a good patting down from me in the morning. And I sort of patted Joey down and then looked at him and I said to him, "Where's your camelback?" And he was so exhausted and so tired. And he just looked at me, and I absolutely went off on him and screamed abuse and told him to go and get his camelback, and that I wasn't responsible for his water intake that day. But yeah, this is what people don't realize is for 14 days, the constant pressure and exhaustion, temper spray, a good snivel in the corner without the boys knowing, sometimes comes in handy when you're just so tired and so dirty and so exhausted, and you're fed up with washing their socks and their underrods and picking them up and putting them on a bike with a smile. And you just want to die quietly in a corner for an hour with a cup of coffee and nobody harassing you.
Julie, I'm going to put you on the spot now, and I know that you're not supposed to have favorites, but you have to have had a soft spot, more of a soft spot for some of your riders than others. Come on, spill the beans.
You know, it's all personality and manners. I know it sounds stupid, but Ricky Brabeck is one of the sweetest people. He always responds to me. Same with Sam Sunderland. But I have two really good favorites, and that's CS Santosh from India and also Arvind, or KP as we call him. I don't know why they all have initials. But I found these two boys looking lost as lambs in Morocco. And so my heart went out to them. And I sat down and had a big chat with them. And from that day forth, they've always been in contact with me. One of them still calls me mom, which is a bit disconcerting. But I love all of them. They're all like children. In fact, they're like naughty children. You probably know the hair-raising stories of Flippy and Vinny and Brian, with me trying to wrangle that lot in I think it was Chile in Iquique. I sent them off to buy ice, and they didn't appear for close on 16 hours. I was absolutely livid with them. But they're all such super, super people. Yeah, you take a bit of a tongue lashing. One world champion went on social media slating the officials, and that really hurt. It took an entire night to come to a decision, and I'm 100% happy with the decision that we took. But you still wonder in the back of your mind when 5 million of his followers call you an idiot and you don't know what you're doing. And so that makes it a bit tough, but you know what? We have to toughen up and do what we're paid to do effectively. Or not really paid, we just do it because we love it.
Julie, can we go back to CS Santosh? Because CS Santosh, there's an interesting connection there, because he's actually crashed this week at the Dakar. And more importantly, he was Speedy's teammate from last year. Have you got any updates on how he is?
I spoke to his PR manager, Sushant, the other night, and it sounds as though everything's all clear in the form of scans, and that they've still got him in, I believe, an induced coma as of this morning, but they say that it's looking good for a strong recovery and speedy recovery. Yes, it was emotionally a bad day for the team with him crashing, because a year ago, obviously, the hero team lost Speedy, or Paulo Gonzalez. And, you know, I mean, I've seen the team manager talking, and the emotions are there. And this is what people don't realize, is the highs and lows and the roller coaster emotions, which you guys are all following from your homes. But when you're actually there, it's soul destroying. I mean, I think I don't know if you're interviewing Vessel later, Vessel Bosman?
Not today.
Okay. 2 Dakars, one Dakar I had to pry him off the handlebars. And at that stage, I was just pit poppy as such. And I had to get him off the bike. He just didn't want to quit. And then him and a few other of the guys, you take them quietly around the corner, let them burst into tears, get it over and done with, and then they can go back and face the guys. And then the following year as an official, I had the unfortunate job of telling him he couldn't continue because we knew he was way too exhausted. And to dash a rider's dreams like that, destroys a little bit of your heart each and every time. You feel physically sick to have to do it. But then when they argue back, I just say, look, I'm not picking up the phone to your family and saying you've crashed out because of exhaustion and you're now in a hospital. So you have to see it from my point of view. But yeah, it's Dakar. And, you know, as Ross said earlier on, if it was easy, we'd all be doing it. And it's a drug, this race, I promise you.
Yeah.
Say again?
I was just saying it can't be easy. It's got to tug at your heartstrings, and with the lows comes some seriously good highs as well, because I believe that you do get to interact with some of the eye candy. Let's talk about Seb Loeb.
Oh, he's a gymnast. So of course, if he walks into the official's tent in his fireproof underwear as such, the time I was there in 2019, all the stewards were males on the car side, but he came in, and the two of us female stewards on the bike side, we just looked at him, and the car stewards were busy glaring at us because our mouths were open. We couldn't do enough to help him with his protest. Just about gave him his pen and said, "Can we help you?" We melt with certain competitors for sure, and you know, all you need is a hug from them now and then to say thanks. Hey, lady, you're doing an awesome job, and then you're putty in their hands for the rest of the race.
Julie, we were chatting earlier about your quest to do the Toyota Desert Race in 2021. Now, that was, stand corrected, with Steve Anthony, a Kenyan driver. With the TDR being postponed now, where are you at with that? Are you going to go ahead? Are you still looking for sponsors?
We're still looking for sponsors, but we've sort of taken a decision at the moment that maybe with it being in South Africa, it's not fair to the Botswana sponsors if we can't give them the full package. So might look at we are going to look at 2022, depending on what happens in 2021. And Steve as well is possibly, I'm involved now this year in November. I'm going to be involved in the Classic Safari, which is sort of like similar to the Dakar Classic. So that's something that we both look at. I'm obviously there in an official capacity, but, Steve is a brilliant mechanic and ex-WRC driver. Guys, use him or lose him. That's all I can say to you. But if he's driving, I'm his navigator, and I won't give that up.
Julie,
but
we could talk for hours. On hold. Yeah, we could talk for hours, and we generally do. But it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. You are such an inspiration, not only to motorsport, but to women in motorsport. I genuinely love chatting to you. You're a fountain of knowledge. As I say, we could chat for hours, but we literally cannot thank you for joining us enough today, and just sending loads and loads of love, and hope to have you on the show again.
With pleasure. Absolute honor to be on the show.
Colin,
cheers, Gillian. Yeah, I'm here. Cheers, Gillian. Thank you very much. Fascinating to get to hear a little bit of the other side of racing, particularly from the ladies. And apparently Seb Loeb is a firm favorite for his super outgoing, friendly nature and the way that he embraces meeting new people with his wonderful, bubbly sense of humor.
Very much.
Thank you so much, Julie. You take care. We'll chat again soon.
Thanks, Gillian, and cheers. Look after Botswana.
Will do. And of course, we've got Ross and James. So what more can I ask for?
Yeah, tell you what, James is showing that how absolutely hard and tough one can be for Dakar 2021. I think it's absolutely magnificent. Right, Gillian, be well, be strong. We shall speak again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Julie. Bye.
Absolutely blooming magnificent. I was just sitting here, I couldn't get a word in edgeways. I finally met my match in terms of talking, Steffi.
You know what, Colin, Julie's such an interesting person to talk to because she's involved on so many different levels. As I say, I could talk to Julie for hours and normally do, but it's just so, like you say, it's so great getting the insight from the other side of the coin, not from a pilot or team perspective.
Right, join us. That's it for this little segment. We'll be back, I don't know when, but shortly. Steffi Vetter from somewhere in the deep south of Africa, close to the sea. Thanks a lot for basically for running that whole segment. I think it was absolutely, you did a sterling job. Well done. You can come back.
Thank you, Colin. I'll see you later.
And to all of you who've been